What up, guys? Yeah, we've got another beer review going on today, and this one, we got something a little different. We have a Ommegang Game of Thrones edition, Mother of Dragon. Now, I bought this right before, I guess it came out after Game of Thrones was all wrapped up. I bought this, but it was getting into Oktoberfest season, so I put this back on the shelf until post-Oktoberfest, and now we're cracking this open. And this is a smoked porter and Kriek ale blend. So I am very interested to check this out. You know, we got that smoked porter and that kind of cherry element. I don't know how much, if this is going to go lambic almost, if it's like a smoked porter lambic blend, or if it's just got a little bit of cherry, and that's what we're doing with it. But it sounds pretty interesting, and picked it up, so we're going to give this a whirl. And I got all of, like, my wine opening thing, because I don't know how this is going to be. At least it's not dipped in wax, because that's always a pain in the ass. But alright, it is just a regular, it doesn't look like there's a cork at all. But Ommegang is one of those beers that, when I was first getting into craft, import beer, whatever, like 15 plus years ago, this was next to, I think, the Duvel and, I'm drawing a blank. It was next to a lot of the other Belgian-style beers that come in this size bottle. And at that point, I didn't know any better to, like, read the fine print labeling, so I just assumed at the time that Ommegang was a Belgian beer. But it's not. Ommegang, based out of New York, Cooperstown, New York. So they tricked me at initially, but that's fine. I've always liked Ommegang, so we're gonna pour this. I'm not exactly sure what glass I'm supposed to pour it in. If it's supposed to be more of a porter thing, or I don't know. We're gonna pour that. That looks pretty good. And also, this is 6.6% ABV. And yeah, it includes a blend of delicately smoked porter and tart cherry Kriek, brewed for those who nurture dragons. So hopefully this is better than the final season, but whatever. We're gonna find out. I've been pumped to try this. I wanted to get somebody else on it to try with the big bottle, but that fell through. I was like, you know what? I've been holding off too long. I need to get this before a lot of the winter ales start coming out. So, all right, let's get into the review and get into the smell. Right off the bat, absolutely. You get cherry. It's not uber duper like cherry, the punch in the face, but that's the first kind of aroma you get. And then it's like it's right there, but then once you get through that initial cherryness, it's definitely boom, smoked porter. I mean, you know, if you didn't read what it was on the label, you'd know exactly what it was just by smelling it. It smells like a smoked porter. It smells like there's some cherry in it. It's not masking what it is. It knows what it is. Got a bit of like that kind of charcoaly, nutty aroma, almost like a roasted almond kind of thing. A hint of that, like that malted barleyness. I'm very interested to see what this is going to taste like, because it's almost like part lambic, part just porter. Almost like it's kind of what it's smelling like. Like you just kind of, you know, like poured. I got half this. Let's pour it together. See what happens. It's really kind of what it smells like. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you're at the soda fountain and you just kind of got all the different sodas. It sounds like somebody took that with a beer. It's like, I'm gonna porter, lambic, cherry. But and also, as you can see, the head dies down pretty quickly. I can't tell if there's a very subtle hint of like a dark chocolate. Yeah, I'll go with a almost a bitter chocolate in here. But I think it smells very interesting. It smells like a porter. It smells like the cherry. I think together it could be pretty good, but I'm going to recommend it on aroma. I think it smells very interesting. So, all right, let's get into the taste. Okay. Yes, it absolutely tastes like you mixed a porter with a lambic. You do get that kind of tart cherry at the tip. It's not overpowering. It's enough to know it's there, but it's not like if you have other Belgian lambics and you find that to be just too over the top, it's not that intense. It's just enough to let you know that there's a little cherry involved, and then it goes away. It does have almost like a chalky texture on the tongue. It's very much, I'd say it's more porter with a little bit of cherry on top. Kind of, it might be good if you like something, if you kind of want to get into porters, but you find that a lot of the porters have too much of a harsh ending to the taste. This kind of calms it down a little bit with the cherry tartness. It kind of brings that harsh porter element down a little bit. There's definitely almost like a bitter, chalky, bitter chocolate to it. Part of me wishes that wasn't as much. I almost kind of wish there's less of that bitter chocolate element and more. Like I'm kind of leaning more to wanting a little more tart and a little less bitter chocolate, or not even necessarily more bitter or more tart, just less bitter. It's but there's something about it. There's something. Like you get the tart cherry. That's it's obvious. It's working well. It doesn't taste chemically. It doesn't taste fake. It tastes like real cherry. It's almost like you got that on this side, and then you have that porterish thing going on this side, and they're laying track. They're trying to get together, and they don't quite connect. It's like when they were building the railroad and they're just like, oh, shoot, we didn't quite map this out right. It tastes like it's trying to, but there's just like a gap between the cherry element and the porter element that it's not seamless. There's almost a gap in the flavor where it's like you have to like kind of like jump from one to the other in your mouth. And there's something that's just missing. And I don't know what it is to smooth that out, but I'm kind of going from tart cherry to the porter. It's like I had to jump between. There's like a cavern, like separating the two, and it's the transition could be smoother. I'm not sure what needs to be done for that. I don't know if it's just there needs to be less tart or less bitter chocolate, or if it's just you needed to add cherries earlier so it was a little more like involved in the entire brewing process. I don't know how the beer is made, so maybe the cherries were there the entire time, but I'm going to assume all the junk written on the back is just about Game of Thrones junk. Pours a blueberry brown. Not getting blueberry. Yeah, I'm trying to see if it was going to say when they added the cherries, but I am not seeing. I feel like the cherries were added probably very late in the brewing process, and so it didn't become fully immersed into the beer. Just a guess. I could be off. But I feel like if they would have added it earlier on, maybe it would have infiltrated the beer more and been more like throughout the entire thing. Again, I could be speaking out of my ass with this. But there's just something that's preventing it from going from one to the other smoothly. So it's a fun. It tastes all right. I think it's interesting. If you find it, I'd say give it a shot. I mean, you might be able to, if you stumble across this, they might have it on discount actually. I got this at World Market. You might be able to find this on clearance at World Market while they're trying to bring in other stuff. And if that's the case, if you stumble across it, I'd say yeah, go for it. It's worth at least checking out. It's almost it's definitely more of like an after dinner kind of beer because it's got that porter and cherry element to it. But I'm gonna give it a half on taste. There's just something that's not quite there for it. But all right, yeah. So then the next category is value price. It's a little more than what you're going to spend for your standard Ommegang bottle of this size. I think since they probably had to pay for the trademark and pay for the copyright and all that stuff from HBO and whoever owns the Game of Thrones copyright. I don't know if George R.R. Martin owns that or if, I don't know. But so it's a little more. It's kind of silly to be paying more for a bottle just because it says Game of Thrones, like this big. I mean, I like the color, I like the label. I almost hope they bring this thing back for like the Christmas season. It's got a nice reflective, like the tinsel and stuff you put on your Christmas tree. But I'm gonna give it a half again on price. I mean, Ommegang is fair for the product you get, but again, you pay more just to have it say home box office and Game of Thrones onto it, which is kind of silly to pay more for a beer when that has nothing to do with the beer. Who knows? It might be a collector's item at some point in time. Who knows? But who's buying beer for it to be a collector's item? I don't know. But so I'll give it a half. Next category is distinction. How distinct is it? And I think I think technically you have to count it as a porter because that is the basic element of the beer. It is a porter with cherry elements to it, and I like stepping out of the box. I like trying to bring in little dashes of whatever, and cherry makes sense for why you add it. Maybe I don't know if the tart cherry was a little too much for the porter. I don't know if you could have gone with more of a sweeter cherry to kind of offset the bitterness of that chocolate-y element or that smoky element. I almost feel like sweet might have been a little better to go. Maybe you just, because they kind of connect with, trying to think if they have anything to do with the Bell. I mean, they kind of have like a Belgian connection anyways, so bringing in a Belgian kind of style cherry makes sense. But again, I think it might have worked better if it was a sweet cherry. But in terms of distinction, yes, it is different from your standard porter, which is why I think it's worth at least giving a whirl. This is another one of those beers I'd be very interested to see it, like some nitrogen added to it. I think the nitrogen would make it smoother to drink, and I think it'd be very, very interesting to have that kind of creaminess, because I feel like for this particular beer, that would lend itself very well for it. So one of these days, I need to get like a nitrogen setup and just, should they make this in nitrogen? And then just kind of pour it in and be like, yes, they should. But no one does. So, but I will recommend it on distinction. It is different enough for it to be, yes. All right. All right, next category is drinkability, and yeah, the cherry does make the porter much more drinkable. Normally that porter's got a little more bite to it than a stout, and so you guys, it's it's not necessarily hard to drink, but you have to take it more sip by sip. The cherry, even though it's a tart cherry, definitely smooths it out. It makes it easier to drink. And I think, for the most part, it works pretty well for it. And it does make it easier to drink, so I will recommend it on Drinkability. It's a nice drinking beer. Like, this is not a bad beer. It doesn't taste bad. There's just something in it that I don't even know, but there's something in it that could make it better. Maybe when the next Game of Thrones spin-off comes out, they'll have a tweak on it. All right, last category is would I buy it again? And, probably not. Maybe at some point in time when Game of Thrones, one of those things is back on TV and that there's like a Game of Thrones watch party, sure, get a Game of Thrones beer. I don't even know if I can find this anymore. I don't know if I'm sure this is a limited edition, limited run kind of thing, kind of like that Johnny Walker Game of Thrones thing. You're kind of buying it for the label. I will admit there is a Johnny Walker, I think, black bottle for the Blade Runner 20, whatever the new one was, 2049, or I don't remember what number, what date was on the new Blade Runner, but there was like a special Johnny Walker bottle for that. It was like square at a square top. I kind of wish I would have bought that. It was ridiculously priced for a Johnny Walker Black. It was probably like 3 times what you normally pay for it, but the bottle was cool. Yeah, so basically you just be buying this for the bottle, and you're already kind of overpaying for what the beer is because there's just a movie or a TV show logo on it. So I don't really need it. This would be interesting. I think this works pretty well as a Christmas beer, though, as a holiday beer. If you wait for the holidays, I think this could be a nice. It tastes. Maybe that's that combination of tart cherry and kind of porter. I think it works very well for the holidays. Maybe I should have waited a few more months, but I probably won't be buying it again. But if you see it, it's not that expensive, so give it a whirl. You might like it, especially if you're into the darker porter beers, or you're just tired of some of the summer stuff and you just want something a little darker and heavier or whatever. So absolutely go for it. But I probably won't be buying it again. But, alright, that is my review of Ommegang's Mother of Dragon, Game of Thrones Royal Reserve Collection, Smoked Porter, and Kriek Ale Blend. Have you had it before? What do you think? What do you think about, like, movie tie-ins, whatever? Like official movie tie-ins. Like, sometimes you'll see something with, like, a Star Wars-esque name to it, but it has nothing to do with the movie, and sometimes I'm kind of surprised some of those places don't get sued, especially with how people's asses Disney are about copyrights. But do you ever buy booze just because there's like a product tie-in to it? I'd love to know if you have and why. Was there like? It doesn't even have to be booze. Like, was there like a throwback Pepsi for Back to the Future or something like that? Was there something that you're just like, I just like the movie, I just want to get a throwback, whatever. I know when I think it was the episode 1, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, when that came out, they had like different characters on the Pepsi cans, and there was like 80 of them. I was in 6th grade when episode 1 came out. 7th grade. I was in 7th grade when episode 1 came out, and they had all the Pepsi things. And I always, I collected action figures at the time. I was always into the G.I. Joes, was moving into the Star Wars characters, which I don't know, like Star Wars. So I did get the Pepsi cans and try to collect all the different, like, character heads. The problem is then I didn't drink them, and then eventually, at some point in time, they all started exploding in my room, so that didn't pan out well. You don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to like 80 exploding Pepsi cans. But anyways, that is the review of the Game of Thrones Ommegang Mother of Dragons beer. Let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And so for myself and for this beer, take it easy.